Ain't bookcases brilliant? They're like a set of shelves, but they're in their own little case, and you can put things on them. Like DVDs, or small model airplanes, or your goldfish, or if you like, a book, I guess. Some people like to stick all the books together by colour, so all the red books go on one shelf, which means you've got spy books next to pie books. Some people, they like to turn all the books the other way around so you just see the pages, which means you don't know what you're reading when you get a book out. Some people say you can learn a lot about someone based on what's on their bookcase. I don't know about that, but I'll tell you one thing, bookcases are brilliant. Well, this is my bookcase. It's my own personal bookcase. I've had this for 25 years. It's a flat pack from Argos and survived numerous house moves, but this is probably its last house. There are 5 shelves, but today we're just looking at this shelf here. So, left to right, we've got The Making of Bug's Life, the Klutz Book of Animation. There's a, what's this? Oh, nothing, there's a void there. Got the Muybridge, Edward Muybridge, Animals and the Human Figure in Motion, Making a Chicken Run, The Complete Artist, book on just a drawing from your imagination. This book was recommended to me by Marshall Lee. He did a video on it, so I grabbed a copy. Book of Nudes, why not? Some Hogarths. I've got Dynamic Hands, Figure Drawing, and Wrinkles. There's a book here, Bodacious Bad Babes of Comics. Timing for Animation. This is what Betty Edwards. She also did a book called Drawing on the, I think it's the right side of the brain. It was a similar concept. Book on animating facial expressions. Learn to Draw and Paint. Great cartoon directors. This is Miller's 300. It's the best place I could put it. Now this Brush with Art. Alan Crawshaw's work was, I think he's still alive. He was an old guy back then. Watercolor artist. Did a lot of stuff on location. Art Star Trek. How to Draw Animation. That's a Christopher Hart book. What we got? Animation Now. This we'll talk about in a second. Making animated film. The Animator's Workbook. Digital character animation. Book on Magic Eye because I survived the 90s. Mars Attacks, the making of. Cartoon Aid, we did an unboxing video of that, I think last year or maybe the year before. The Illusion of Life, we will talk about this. Richard Williams' Animated Survival Kit, we will talk about that. Making of Aladdin, Making a Nightmare on Christmas. David Gentleman's London. Some newspapers pertaining to a project that I did many years ago. There's a Will Eisner book there, and this book here, which is Character Animation Crash Course by Eric Goldberg. We will talk about that in a second. Okay, so the first book up is Illusion of Life of Disney Animation. This is written by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. This is the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way for comic guys. Before I was a comic guy, I was a animation guy. So I'm sharing a bit of my past with you. I trained as an animator in the mid to late 90s. I trained as a 2D animator, and I studied in Wales, which was lovely, and I loved my time as a student there. To this day, I still work in animation related fields, so not too bad really. So the story behind this book is interesting. It's well accepted that this was a sort of great textbook to have, but you just could not get it in this country. It was really hard to get hold of. This is pre-internet, so Amazon wasn't a thing. You couldn't just drop a credit card on this stuff. You had to sort of know where it was being sold. Two other students who were also animation students were going to an event in America. This was a big deal because we're impoverished students, and these two guys have got plane tickets and they were going to go off to some kind of animation convention. I'm not sure exactly what it was, can't remember. I suspect it might have been SIGGRAPH. And so I took one of the guys to one side and said, look, if you get a chance, can you bring me back a copy of this? I will pay whatever it costs. Now this book has got a price ticket on it for $60. You can't see it, I'll just move this in. $60. I think I ended up paying about 30 to 35 quid for this. So I think I did pretty good at the deal, and I was grateful to the guy who had to lug this through customs, because my gosh, it's got some weight in it. It's a weighty tome. So this is written by Frank and Ollie. Now Frank and Ollie were two of what's called the 12 old men of animation. And I wish I could remember the names, but they've probably got them written down here somewhere actually. But there's lots of information here, talk about history of animation in general. So, you know, principles, staging, squash and stretch, animation exercises, examples of pre-drawn cells, close-ups of stuff. Yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. There's also, you know, some backgrounds here, and a few internal sketches that people did and stuff, and little model sheets of like the brave little tailor and stuff like this. So yeah, lots of fun times. Now these guys would have been old and retired when I was a student, but they made cameo appearances in The Iron Giant and The Incredibles, and both were directed by Brad Bird, who I think was a bit of a fan. Now, in the late 90s, they had their own website, and they offered a service where you could send your copy of The Illusion of Life off to them. They would sign it and send it back. And many, many times I was tempted to do that. Only the risk of putting this into a box, sending it across the Atlantic to get signed, to get sent back, was so great. I just couldn't do it. And obviously, later on they died, and that opportunity passed me by. However, this is a great book, and it's easy. It's much more easy to come by now. If you'll go onto Amazon, you'll see it. So, Illusion of Life. There you go. Book one. All right. Second book is Richard Williams' The Animated Survival Kit. Now, everyone goes about Miyazaki being like the greatest animator that ever lived. Guys, please, come on. For my money, Richard Williams was the greatest animator who ever lived. He transcended style. He had an eye on the future, whilst at the same time an eye on the past, by recruiting members of the 12 old men to come work at his studio. He wrote down this text, this tome. He directed the kitchens, as I understand, if I remember correctly, he directed the entire kitchen sequence from the start of Who Framed Roger Rabbit in a hotel room on a piece of plexiglass. There was no end to his ability. And this was printed 2001. I was invited to a sort of a pre-release tour. He went for a series of places talking about the book and some of the principles and theories, you know, to groups of students, and we a bunch of us went to Cardiff to hear him talk. He talked for about, I would say, conservatively, 3.5 hours. I filled most of a sketchbook up full of some of this stuff, and I put my pre-order in pretty much straight away. this book comes from a slightly more technical approach than Illusion of Life. Illusion of Life is more talking about things like the artistic sort of idea of drawing an appealing image or image that reads well. Richard talks about, you know, pegs up, pegs down, how to sort of get our spacing for perspective. This is a 2D drawing thing, right? How do we get an appealing head turn, you know? And we talk about walk cycles. As a student, I used to love doing walk cycles. But yeah, lots of stuff here. Talking about foreshortening, talking about adjusting walk cycles, adding overlapping action, doing sneaks and delaying parts of the body. It's all gold, and you can still get this. This is still, I believe, this is available on Amazon. I mean, pretty much any book is available from Amazon. If you're in England, you could probably go try and your local branch of Waterstones will probably have it. So yeah, this was a great book, and it was inspiring to see and hear the man talk about his book. This represented one aspect of a lifetime's work. Unfortunately, the other aspect was what happened to the thief and the cobbler, which was his self-financed feature film, which went unfinished after he died and was grabbed by the studios and recut and shuffled up and finished on the cheap, and it looked, apparently it's a crying shame, but there we go. But yeah, second book. And this is our third book. This is Character Animation Crash Course, written by Eric Goldberg. And here's Brad Bird again. God, he crops up, doesn't he? Now, I want to show you something. This is a realisation 30 years, 25 years in the making. I ordered this book a few years ago. Did I? Is there what's this edition? 2008. I might have bought this probably 2010, 2012, something like that. So I just want to show you something interesting. Okay, so we've got this talking about tilt of the head during a piece of dialogue. Oh really? Do tell. Okay, I'm just going to bookmark that for a second. Put that there, and I'm going to bring this in. Now, what's this? This is proper contraband stuff. So as a student, we had some visiting students from, I think it was Gobelins, which is a very prestigious French animation school. They decided to slum it in Wales for about a month or so, and we'd hang out, and you know, they'd watch us work and we'd watch them work, and we'd look at their work and they'd look at our work. And towards the end of the trip, one of them sort of sidled up to one of our students and said, do you want a copy of this? Handed this the student this, just basically a ream of paper with a binder on it, and it was full of notes by Eric Goldberg. Timing notes on timing, notes on character design, notes on working with an assistant, so good ways to sort of be professional with an assistant, talk about character construction, all this sort of stuff, right? And so this set of handouts went around the year group, so everyone took a copy, took one lunchtime, went to the library, photocopied it within an inch of its life and bound it up. And I had a copy of this, and it sat on a shelf and I used it a lot. But have a look at this. It's very faint, but it says, "I really do tell." These are Goldberg's notes, and let's just compare them against what's actually duplicated, shall we? Oh, I can't see it. I'll just move this up a little bit. It's pretty much the same drawing, which means that these are Goldberg's original drawings that we got. Now, we'd have got these in '96. This book came out, 10 years later? So I think at a certain point Eric realised that basically his notes were being illicitly distributed amongst animation students. I thought, you know what, I might as well get a piece of that action. So that for me is fascinating. I'd already got this, and by the time I got this, I didn't realise it was effectively a lot of this was in this. But that's not to say it's the same book. There's a lot of this that's not in this. So yeah, character animation crash course. A puzzle 20 years in the solving. Okay, so there we go. Here's just some of the highlights from the bottom shelf of the bookcase. It's funny, they are more technical books, but they deal with a lot with my student days. So there we go. I hope you found it interesting. If you've got any questions about anything really, slap them on in the comments, and we'll have a go at answering them, or making a video answering the questions. In the meantime, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, you could take care now. All right, bye.